Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Tech with Alem Spaja. In this video, I will show you how to use route groups and prefixes in Laravel 11 routes. Let's get started. The route file in Laravel 11 basically contains pathway through which the application receives internet requests to return a response. All routes are defined in the Laravel route directory. You could find that in the Laravel folder structure. There is a folder called the route folder, and then that's where you find the file where the routes are contained. For example, the get method of the route facade basically defines the route that returns this homepage string as a value when the application receives a request. When you go to the browser and you say http alenspaja.com, so it will return this string. So this is where all of those requests are being defined so that the application can know what to return as a response to the user when a request is being made. So the first argument here is the URI, which is slash. In some cases, it could be post slash, just like you see here. It could be post slash create. So when you go to the browser, for example, you say 127.0.0.1, then you say 8000. So when you hit enter, for example, it will return this string. When the user makes a request for post, this line 29 is going to be executed. What are the importance of grouping routes and using prefixes? So depending on the features and functionalities of an application, the routes could be many to serve the internet request with the appropriate responses. This could bring about repetition and difficulty managing routes in the route file. So imagine, for example, we have here an application that is having a blog feature, having like maybe an e-commerce feature, having an admin feature, probably maybe a reservation site altogether. So there's going to be a lot of routes where you are trying to ensure that whatever request the user is making from the browser, there will be an appropriate response for that. So there's a need to be able to group them so they don't become clustered, or probably doesn't become confusing or difficult to manage. That is one of the importance of using the group method of the route facade. Route grouping function in Laravel enables for sharing of similar features such as namespace, controller, middleware, prefixes, and what have you, with multiple routes to eliminate repetition. For example, you can use prefixes to group routes with common links. So let's look at an example of an ungrouped route. So from line 22 until line 26, this is an ungrouped route. So you could see there is a repetition of post, 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 post. There's a repetition of post controller. There's a repetition of auth. There's a repetition of post all across this place. So we're going to make this cleaner. So imagine, for example, you have something of this nature repeated. You have for post, you have for products, you have for users, you have for cards, you have for services, you have for maybe bookings, you have for telecoms, different routes that are defined. So it's going to be cumbersome, like it's going to be so looking unorganized and quite a bit dirty. So, but then when you apply the group method, you see how efficient it will be. Apparently, this could be achieved using the resource anyway, but then there could be a need for you to have control over the routes that are defined. So let's start with group by prefixes. So when you talk about group by prefixes, you basically have route, right? And then you have prefix, and then posts. Then, so you have the group. So the group takes in a callback, and then you have function, and then you have this. So all of the routes that has prefix of post can be defined within the callback function of the group method of the routes facade. So all of them will now begin to share all of these prefixes. So I'm just going to copy all of this now and then move them in here. So, and then I'll just take off this post that we have here. So this, take this off. Then I'll take this off. I'll take this off. So this basically achieves the same thing with what is up there, but you could see now there is no repetition of posts. And then if we want to change the prefix, we could just come to one point and then change what it looks like. That is for grouping by prefixes. Then next we have route group with name prefix. So if you observe closely, in this name here, there's a name method. So this is like the routes If you want to access this route within a blade file, you can use this name, maybe post.index, such that if you change the definition of the URI, it will not break your application. So you could see that there's a repetition of posts dot post dot post dot, like almost maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So we can actually optimize this so that there is no duplicate of posts. So for you to be able to achieve that, you just append, you see, you come over here, and then after the prefix, you can say name, and then you can say post dot. So I can come over here and then take off this. So pretty much the same. So you could see it's getting quite better now compared to what we have here initially. So the next is route group with middleware. So you could see this middleware says this is an authentication middleware. Basically what it means is anybody who wants to, any request coming into this application must be from an authenticated user. But then you could see that there is a duplicate of middleware 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can just have it at one point. So I'll just come here and say, then just say middleware, and then you say off. And that basically applies it. So we can come down here and take this off. So you could see that it is quite neater now compared to what we have here. So you could look at line 22 to 26 and then line 29 to line 30. This is looking way neater. So this may not look quite nice in the eye right now, but then when you are dealing with a large application, you will see how beautiful it will make your route file to look like. The next is route group with namespace. So you could use the namespace to indicate what folder a particular group of controllers can be found. So I can just take this here now, for example, and then I just put it in here. Then I can come down here and define something else and say, for example, I can come and say route get. So let me just copy one of these. Let me just copy one of these now, and then I'll just come down here and then say something like, let me say user controller. Okay. So now what this basically means is that both post controller and user controller, they are all found in a folder called user. So we don't have to repeat user slash post controller, user slash post controller, user slash user controller. So with just one single namespace, you can group controllers that are within the same folder. So that's what route group with namespace does. The next is route group with controller. Now, if you notice here, we have post controller, post controller, post controller, repeated 5 times. So we could just come over here and then just indicate. Okay, so we just come over here and indicate and say controller. Okay, and then we just put post, controller, and then post controller, and then we could come down here and take off this. It's basically the same thing. You can see that now. So you come here, then you come here, then come here, come here. So you could see. So you could see line 23 to 27 is what we are still doing here, 30 to 40, and then it looks way neater. So there is no duplicate of post controller, there is no duplicate of post, there's no duplicate of post dots, just to indicate the name, and then there's no duplicate of middleware. So if you have maybe like 50, 60, 70 routes here, this could be looking way neater. And then some of the advantages is that I can come here and change the name of the controller, and then it applies to all these routes within this group method. And I can change the name. I can say maybe I move it to user.post or something, and then it will be applicable to all of the routes within this place. So it makes code maintainable and clean and easy to extend. The next is group route with subdomain. For subdomain, you can actually come over here and then just do something like this, domain, and then you could say post.alemsbaja.com. So what this implies is that when you come to the browser, for example, and you say www.post.alemsbaja.com/post, so it will basically return what is in this method. If it's all the posts, it will return all the posts. So if you do .com/post, if you do /create, it will be used to create the crate. So you don't have to repeat all of those domain attachment here, because when you use a group function, you can apply all these things to routes that are within the group method callback. So the next is nested grouped routes. This is most common in API routes. So you have, maybe you want to have /API/v1 appended to all the routes. And then within those routes, there are routes that are grouped together. This is how you achieve nested group route in Laravel. So I'll say route prefix. Okay. So I can say API/v1, for example, and I'll say group. Okay. So I'll say function, and then I'll do a callback here. So now within this, I can just come over here. Let me just use this as an example now. I can come in here and then add this over here. So now you see, just take this out. Then, yeah. So now you could see, this is what we refer to as nested group. So within this group of API v1, there is another group that is happening here. There's another group inside here. So you can also have another group here. Say, for example, let me just call this user controller, for example. So this could be, let's say, user controller. So you can say users. So let's do like this. You can say users, right? So now you see, now this is what we refer to as nested group. So I can have multiple group within a particular group, and then that is nested. So for us to be able to access the post now, okay, so it will be like, it will be /API, to be like /API/v1/posts, you get, and then if you want to access users, it will be /API/v1/users, you get, and then maybe like create, you see. So you don't have to duplicate all of these things. If not, like the regular way you would have written something like this is to do, let me just show you what the regular way would have looked like. So yeah, let me just pick this and then show you an example of what that would look like. So if it is an ungrouped route, so you have something like this API/v1 and then /posts, then you have them duplicated like this all over the place, which is quite really messy. But then using the group method in Laravel really makes your code way neater and maintainable. So the route group functionality in Laravel can be utilized for strategic organization and efficiency of routes, especially when handling shared prefixes, middleware, controllers, name, and what have you. It enhances simplicity, readability, elimination of duplicate of shared attributes, and ease of modification. More notable is their flexibility to intelligently merge attributes with their parent groups through nesting. So like we've shown here, this is what we call the parent groups, and then these are the child groups that are within. So these are nested within this parent group. That being said, let me know what you think about the Laravel group method in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video, click the subscribe button if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, and share the video. Until next time, bye.